Actually, do you know what? For you right there, yeah, this video is going to be boring. But hold on, before you leave, if you stick around till the end, not only will you learn a bit about how we plan our trips, but I will also be revealing another part of our Japan-China trip that we are really looking forward to and that we think you're going to be interested in as well. Lots to come, so hey, if you're up to being bored, stick around. So, like I said, this video is more about how we plan our trips, because one of the things that I have learned is that it is super easy to make a trip that either becomes too full and everything is crazy, or too empty and people are bored. Especially when you're trying to plan for a family, it is so easy to get caught in the trap of, oh my gosh, look at all the things that we can do, and suddenly you are planning 10 activities in a day, or you're thinking, oh, we want this to be a nice relaxing trip, so you don't plan enough and people are actually bored. So what did I do? I created an itinerary planning system so that I can plan trips in a way that aren't too big, aren't too busy, aren't too boring, kind of Goldilocks itineraries. And because I'm the kind of guy who likes to build systems and such like that, I built it into an Excel workbook that I'm going to share with you guys as well. So stick with me, I'm going to show you how it works, and if you're interested in grabbing it yourself, you can grab it on our website at thewondercrew.org/gear. Let's get to it. So here we are at our Start Here page, and this is where things are going to start. So we're going to give the trip a name. If you're more creative than I am, you can call it something other than just the trip, the place, and the name, and the year. We're going to give it a departure date, and we're going to give it a return date. Now, here's the important part, and this is going to tie into our budgeting later, but you're going to want to give your trip a budget. And that's going to help you start to see and think about how much you're spending, especially when you're looking at all the activities that you might be able to do. So you can see, once we've given it a budget, we've given some dates, you can see that it's automatically calculated for us how many days and nights our trip is going to be. And then the next thing we're going to do is start to add the cities that we're going to go to. Next thing we're going to add is our travelers. So of course, there's me who's going, Isaac is going, Jacob is going, and Sarah are going as well. So we're going to add them in. And if they've got all the same last name, we can just copy that down. Now I'm going to leave out their birth dates and ages because, you know, privacy. Next section is your flight information. And then below that, we also have emergency contacts and support contacts for you. And those are going to tie into our binder system so that you can actually create some of these pages that you can give to your emergency contacts, the person who's staying at home and watching your pets or sitting in your house, without having to create a whole nother document. We've actually put it in there right in the system so that you can create them yourself. Now, here's where it gets special for us. I know most people tend to plan their trip by day, and I found that what happens is you start kind of packing in days and then you don't know what goes where and so on and so forth. So instead, I decided that I'm actually going to split these out by city. And the reason that we do this by city is because every city has some things in common. Obviously, it has the transportation into the city, the transportation out of the city, and the hotel. So instead of planning it by day, we plan it by city, so we can keep that stuff separate and above the fray, and then we can just concentrate on what we're going to do while we're in the city, leaving us free to move things around and update things as we want to. So let's look at a city page, and here is one right here. So we've got the city, the arrival date in the city, the departure date in the city. We've got how we're going to get into the city for our inbound transportation and how we're going to get out of the city. And of course, we've got our accommodations while we're going to be in the city. And again, those all sit above because they don't change. So we can now deal in the bottom section with only the activities that we're going to do. So let's start entering some information into this particular city sheet, and we're going to base it very loosely off of what we're actually going to do on our Japan and China trip. And of course, this will work for literally any country, any place, any type of trip. So as you can see, we've given it an arrival date of July 11th. We're leaving July 13th in the city of Tokyo, so that automatically calculates our days and nights as 3 days and 2 nights, which is perfect. Now we'll enter some information of us coming into the city. And of course, if you're coming into Tokyo, you're probably going to do that by rail or by private taxi or something like that. We'll put in rail as our type of transportation from the airport to the hotel if you know it. So now let's enter some hotel information. We're going to put in a hotel name. We're going to put in its price per night. We're going to put in its address, hotel information, all of that kind of stuff. And you'll see that it automatically puts in the cost for the accommodations of that place. If you have a booking reference, you definitely want to put that in. Of course, that's not our real information. We're going to give it a check-in time, a check-out time, so we know when we're coming in and when we're leaving our particular hotel. And you're going to see a lot of this stuff come up when we actually build out the itinerary on a separate page. It's automatically going to pull in a lot of this information into the itinerary so that you don't have to do it. Now we're going to put in our outbound transportation. So we know that our next city is going to be Kyoto, so we're probably going to take the Shinkansen. So we're going to put rail, the provider, we're going to put our booking information in there, our departure time, our arrival time, our from, which is likely going to be from Tokyo Station to Kyoto. So we'll put all that information in. So now we've got all of our operational information in. Now it's time for us to do the fun part, which is start to do our research on the things that we would like to do when we're in that particular city, in this case, Tokyo. So this is where you get on the internet, you do all your looking, and quite frankly, I could do a whole video on places to look for things to do in any particular city, searches to make, keywords to use, and all that kind of stuff. But like I said, that would be a whole separate video. So suffice to say, you're going to look up your options, and this is where you're going to enter them. We're going to enter things like the activity, what it's called. We're going to give it a category and an activity type. We're of course going to enter its address, and we're going to give it a tentative start and end time. And that start and end time is going to be used in order to calculate the total time that we're going to take at that place. We're just using some times in order right now to see how much time we're planning on using. In later steps, when we're looking at the itinerary, we can see what's worked, we can change times, we can change amounts of times and all those kind of times later. Right now, we're just doing things tentatively so that we can start to put them in order and start to put things in the flow of a day. So here we have a list of places and things that we could do when we're in Tokyo. Now we've entered some activity types and some categories and activity types, their addresses, and like I said, some start times and end times so we can start to see how the days might flow. So another thing you want to do is give it a status. So if you have anything that is already booked, you can give it a status of booked. We have a couple of book statuses in there: booked paid on site, booked prepaid, or you can just leave things as tentative. Now, the nice thing about this is the status doesn't affect anything else in the itinerary. You can still add tentative items to your itinerary, and we're going to do that by clicking on the Add to Itinerary button, and that's what we're going to use to actually add something to our itinerary. And the reason for that is, of course, that tentative things can still be part of the itinerary. There are lots of things that you don't necessarily book that are still on the itinerary, and that gives us some flexibility to add things in and out on the fly whenever we want to. So now we've added things to our itinerary. By clicking the Add to Itinerary, you can see those things are highlighted now, so we know those things are added, and we can kind of see the flow of what a day might look like. You'll notice I haven't added dates to them yet because we haven't decided exactly when we want to do each activity. So next, we're going to go on to our next city. So our next city is going to be Kyoto. And I've pre-filled some information in here so that we can see what that might look like. And then our last place is going to be Osaka. So let's look at what a city sheet filled out might look like for that. So now you can see that we have filled out our trip. So just like a baking show, I'm going to move to something a little bit more filled out. So I'm going to pull out from under my desk a fully filled out itinerary planner so that we can look at some of the rest of the steps. All right, so as you can see here, here's a fully filled out itinerary program for a Japan to China trip. You'll see that we have several cities in here. From Kyoto, I've even added Beijing, so very similar to our trip. Now let's look at that trip summary page. Now the trip summary page is designed to give you a high-level overview of what your trip actually looks like at this moment with all the information. This is to enable you to look and see if days are being too full or too empty, to see where you're going to be going. It has your flights, has your hotels, your ins and outs of every single day. This is the full trip in raw data, okay? It may look a little bit daunting, but it's there to give you as much information as possible. I know some people like to plan in parts of a day, like morning, noon, evening, night, full day. So I have actually added that as well. So if you go back to that Start Here page, you can actually change things to time blocks instead of exact times, and you can actually see those reflected on your trip itinerary as well. But while we're doing it in our trip summary view, we've kept the time so that you can see exactly where things are at, and then you can kind of open things up later. Trying to make sure that for every trip you have the maximum amount of information to make decisions, and then you can kind of pull back and dial back the information that you display on your itinerary. Speaking of itineraries, here one is, and you can see it's now compiled per day, your check-in, your check-out, if you have flights on that day or other transportation that's booked, those are all there ready to see. In this particular example, we have things done out by morning, evening, noon, night, and you can see those in each of the examples here. So the last thing, like I said, is actually some of those extra sheets that we've added into this. And the reason I've done this is you've done most of the work in this workbook already. You have your travelers, you have emergency contacts, you have all those type of things. So it just doesn't make sense to have to go somewhere else to fill in another form with the exact same information for emergency contacts, sheets to stay at home with family, friends, pet sitters, house sitters, all that kind of stuff. So we've made it right in here as a printable sheet. All you have to do is go into that sheet and literally print it. It's already pulled all the information that you've put in from various places in the workbook into one printable sheet. How easy is that? So that's basically it. The full itinerary planning system from beginning to end. I could do a whole video on where to look for activities and such like that, but this is the way we take all that information in, make it into something that we can actually use to plan our trips and create our itineraries so that we know what we're going to do, and also have backups, because as you noticed, all those things that we didn't add to our itinerary are still there for us to check and to use anytime. We can remove something from the itinerary and add something else. So if you're out on your trip and you realize the next day is going to be rainy and you have planned outdoor things, you can literally go into your planning sheet, look at some of the activities that are on there that are maybe more indoor, and just add them to your itinerary, and away you go. Easy peasy. So I hope that makes sense. I hope you guys liked that and learned something. And as I was mentioning, one of the places we're going to be is in Kyoto. And of course, we're going to do all the Kyoto things. We're going to check out the bamboo walk. We're going to see some monkeys. We're going to check out Gion and see some geisha and such like that. But one of the things that we are super excited for is our very own ninja training experience brought to you by the folks at Ninja Dojo in Kyoto. That's right, before we hike the wall on our own epic adventure, we're gonna get some training to make sure that me and my little ninjas are prepared to go. So, details down in the description. Check out Ninja Dojo. Give them a big like, a big thank you from us, and stay tuned for more. We have got lots coming up on this trip. I have been doing a lot of work and lots of announcements coming up on sponsors and other things that we're going to be doing on this amazing Japan-China trip. We are so thankful for the chance at being able to do it, and it is in no small part to each one of you who are watching it right now that have given us the opportunity to put this project together. So again, if you are interested in how we plan, you can check out our ultimate trip planning system. It is on our website at thewondercrew.org/gear. Next week, we're going to check out how we do the budgeting for our trip. But until that time, keep exploring.